Irvine, California. Today we are talking about building bridges between the gay community and the mainline church. My next guest is also a straight man who has a lovely wife out here. In his work, he exposes how evangelical Christians have hurt the LGBT community. This is an effort to build a bridge that leads straight to the good news of Jesus Christ. So please welcome Andrew Marin. Well, Andrew, thank you for being here. And I want to know how you got started on this journey, because as Jay had kind of some background with his friend and his mother working with a lot of the gay community. How did you get involved with being a supporter of the gay community?
You know, I was the biggest Bible banging homophobic kid you would have ever met in your entire life. I mean, for me, right? Well, hey, let's just throw it out there. You know, for me, growing up in an Assemblies of God church, growing up in a very conservative home and community, I didn't know anyone who was gay. And so it was just an easy, automatic justification system built up in my head to do and say whatever I wanted. I played baseball. I got a scholarship to play Division I baseball in college. You know, I was homecoming king. So it's like all of the rows set up in place for me and my capital T truth to be used and said however I wanted. And the summer after my freshman year in college, my best friend says, "I need to tell you something." I said, "Okay, what do you want to say?" She goes, "Don't tell anybody." I said, "Okay, I won't." She says, "I'm a lesbian." And I go, "Oh, no, you're not. I've known you my whole life, and you know, you're not a lesbian." And she goes, "Yes, I am." And I said, No, you're not." She goes, "Yes, anyways, we went back and forth, and she won because, yes, she's a lesbian. And the very next month, my other best friend says, "I need to talk to you." And I said, "Sure, what do you want to talk about?" And, right? And she says, "Now don't tell anybody." And I said, "Okay, I won't." And she goes, "I'm a lesbian. I was born this way. I've always been like this." And at this moment, like, I thought they were in cahoots with each other, you know? And I just lost it. And I was like, do I have a stamp on my forehead that says, "Are you gay and do you need a best friend? Because just come to me." Even though I wasn't the guy. But it doesn't stop there, because the very next month, and to let you into my life, I only have 3 best friends. So what I'm about to tell you is going to be 100% of all the people that I love more than anyone. And he says, "Andrew, I have something to tell you." And I caught on at this point. And I said, "Aha!" and I go, "Oh, you're going to tell me you're gay, right?" And not thinking he was. And he just started bawling and shaking his head, yes. And I'm one of those guys when other people turn to waterworks and I start to cry. So we're sitting there just holding each other. And I realized, oh my goodness, my 3 best friends just came out to me and told me they were the one thing that I singled out my whole life.
Well, I know, accepting your best friend being gay and loving them for who they are, but how did you decide to say, "I'm going to go and speak to these mega churches and coming to evangelical conferences"? And what made you want to do that? And how did you get started?
Yeah, you know, I never wanted to do it. I think that was the funny part about this whole thing. All I wanted to do when I started my organization was just to show Christ's love in a tangible way to my 1 square mile radius neighborhood, which was Boys Town in Chicago. I never thought about writing books. I never thought about speaking around the world. It never crossed my mind. And it was funny, you know, I had been doing my thing in the gay community for 4 or 5 years. You know, hundreds of GLBT folks would come to these events that we would do and these forums and discussions that we would put on. And I was the only straight Christian person involved in any of it. And so what I did was I actually opened up the phone book in Chicago, and I flipped to churches, and I started in A, and I literally called all 2,671 churches in the city of Chicago. And I have the spreadsheets to prove it. But what happened was I would go to these churches, and I would say, "Listen, here's what I have going." And there's obviously huge need, otherwise people wouldn't come to this. And maybe, seeing I'm the only straight Christian doing something like this, you would want to come and be involved, you know, just local Chicago churches. And I stopped counting after I got laughed on the 641st church. And they all told me the same thing. They said, "You're 24 years old, and you're trying to do something that's never been done. Stop wasting my time, stop wasting your time, because it can't happen." And I ended up saying, after about church number 400, I was like, "Fine, you know what? We don't need you. You're going to call me in 5 years. You're going to apologize. You're going to beg for me to do something, and then I'm going to charge you." And you know, here we are 5 years later, and they're calling and I'm charging. But the point is that I feel like, and I did that for 8 years, and I feel like the Lord really said, you know, you've taken so good care of your one little neighborhood, and there are a lot of other one little neighborhoods all around that need to be taken care of as well. And we just started throwing all of these things on my lap. I have never sought out a book deal. I've never sought out one speaking engagement, and it just continues to just build and build and build. For the fact, the sole reason, because I'm actually living out what I'm talking about. I think in the Christian world today, specifically the straight evangelical Christian world, there are a lot of national Christian figures who go all around the country, go all around the world, and talk about someone else's problems. And they don't really have anything in their own local community, in their own local home. And for me, I could care less about any of that stuff. I'm still committed to my neighborhood, and I think that's what really draws people to what we're all about and what we're doing.
I was just going to ask, you've been going into mainline churches, and you said, what's the message that you're taking to them?
Yeah, we really need to change our medium of engagement, and that is part of the broader message. I think if there was an umbrella message, that would really be it. For so long, what has happened is I say that both communities, both the GLBT community and the conservative straight Christian community, are working off of a false model of the ideal situation. So what I mean by this is that you have in the broader gay and lesbian community, not the Christian community, but the broader one, you know, there's an ideal, best case scenario that says, oh my goodness, you know, we're going to find a gay gene. And when we find a gay gene, those conservative folks out there are going to have to realize that God made us this way, and it's not a sin, and it's a happy, healthy way to live. And what I'm trying to communicate to those broader audiences is to say, listen, you can find 20 gay genes, and at the end of the day, the conservative world one day isn't just going to wake up and go, whoa, oh my goodness, you hit the 20th gay gene, that was my barrier. So now I'm going to drop everything I believe and just come over to your side. That's not going to happen. But just the same, what's the Christian world doing? You know, the conservative Christian world, they're compiling all of these people who are celibate and ex-gay, and they're just using them as pawns, and they're saying, oh, look, gay world, look at these people. And if they can do it, then you have to do it. And what I'm trying to tell them, you can compile 20 million of those people. And at the end of the day, the broader gay and lesbian world isn't just going to look at that and go, oh my goodness, you hit the 20 millionth ex-gay person. That was my barrier, so now I'm going to drop what I believe and just come over to your side. So it's like the model we're working off of is one that we call reconciliation, but it's not. It's a cultural version of reconciliation that says you have to agree with what I have to agree with, and then we'll be reconciled. And so what we're really trying to do is shift the medium of engagement to a biblical reconciliation, which says Jesus came and he died and he rose again to reconcile God to human and human to human. And my thought, and this is where I lose some people, but my thought is that if we are not reconciled human to human, and in Mark chapter 12, Jesus in essence says, a human is the person most unlike yourself. So if we are not reconciled to the person most unlike ourselves, then I don't know if we can fully understand what it means to be reconciled to God.
When we return, we'll hear from another straight ally. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.